we want you to be able to speak up. Okay. So you're ready? Okay. Good evening and welcome to the Thursday, October 3rd, 2024 Lake County Zoning Board of Appeals. First thing is call the roll.
Bruce Forster.
Here.
Craig Burrow.
Here.
Mike Pratt.
Here.
Luke Phelan, not present. Tim Crawford.
Here.
The next thing is the approval of the minutes from the August 1st, 2024 meeting.
Move for approval.
What's that?
I move for approval.
We have a motion.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next thing is a motion to adjourn pursuant to the county board's vote on last month's petitions.
I make a motion to, what did you call it?
We have a adjourn pursuant to the county board's vote on last month's.
I make a
petition.
motion, we go to the county board, pursue to the county board's petition.
We have a second.
Second.
We have any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. On to old business. First petition tonight is petition number 24-P-1628. Jacob Little and Emma Little or Lytle. You'll have to correct me one way or another. As owners of certain real property identified as PIN number 14-09-05-300-012, commonly known as 1321 Illinois Route 38, Franklin Grove, Illinois, located approximately 1/4 of a mile west of Illinois Route 38 and Robbins Road intersection in Nachusa Township, Lee County. Filed a petition for a map amendment requesting that the zoning map be amended from an R2 single-family residential district to an Ag 1 rural agricultural district for the purpose of raising and keeping livestock or farm animals. The parcel is approximately 1.41 acres in size. Is the petitioner present? If you want to have a seat on that corner before you sit down, if you're both going to speak, you both have to be sworn in. Well, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth? Okay. And I need you each to sign one of these. Print your name. You're going to speak first? Okay.
All right. So this parcel in question is currently zoned R2. It is primarily surrounded by agriculturally zoned property. The parcel adjacent and to the west is also zoned R2, single family residential. They are seeking to change the zoning so they can have more of an agricultural use. That is it.
That's it?
Well, sorry. I did present you with a list of zoning exhibits. The first one is a copy of the petition for map amendment. The exhibit number 2 is the notice of public hearing. This was originally scheduled for August 1st, so that was the public hearing, the notice for that hearing. Exhibit number 3 is an amended notice. It was continued to September. We were not obligated to post an amended notice, but it was posted at the property, so I am including it as an exhibit. Exhibit number 4 is a copy of the certificate of publication from the Dixon Telegraph. Exhibit 5 is a copy of the letters to the township authorities. Exhibit 6 is a copy of the letters to the District 1 county board members, and Exhibit 7 is a copy of the letters to the county authorities.
Okay. So who's going to speak first? Okay, so you signed your name, you printed your name, now state your name.
My name is Jacob Lytle.
Okay. And tell us about your,
So we'd like to have 2 horses at our property. We have plans to build a 36 by 36 building on our property and keep the horses there. We currently have them boarded in Chena. So we'd like to have them at home instead of having to drive 20 minutes every day to take care of them.
okay,
Question.
you can ask questions.
How long have you lived at the property then?
Just over 2 years.
So the property next to you is R2.
That's correct.
Have you had any contact with them? Do they have an opinion on this?
As far as I know, they're excited to have animals next to them. We do have I guess they're the receipts from the certified mailing that we sent out, and they signed theirs, and we've since talked to them, and they're excited. They have grandkids, so they think it would be nice to have horses next door.
You're gonna ask if they're here at some point.
Yeah, are they here?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
I did pull up the map, the GIS map of the property. The yellow parcel to the right is their parcel. The other one to the left is the other R2 zone property. As you can see, they are in the middle of ag.
What's to the left, the next house there, is that also ag?
Which where?
To the left there, right there. Oh, here's the next one.
Yes.
Both of them there?
Yep. If it does not have the yellow overlay, it is ag zoned. And you can. Correct. At one point in time, actually both of these parcels were zoned ag. It was, in order to be able to subdivide the property, they had to go through subdivision regulations. You may actually recall that was not that long ago.
Yeah.
They've since sold the property and now they are looking to bring it back to ag.
So you said the R2 is to the right?
Both of these yellow parcels are
Yeah, okay.
R2.
So that's, I remember when this was done so that you could build 2 houses. Now that the 2 houses are there, you're gonna take away the R2. That isn't something that everybody in the county can do.
That is why it comes to you guys.
Has the state's attorney looked at this or not?
Yes, and actually Stephanie is present by Zoom.
I don't see anything wrong with it. I mean, I don't have an objection.
got any questions?
No. You know how to build a fence to keep horses in?
I don't, but I know plenty of people that do.
I'm the horse girl.
Yeah.
I'm the one that has the horses
Yeah,
there.
but you're gonna build the fence?
Jake will build the fence and I'll take care of it.
So the setbacks and everything on the building, you probably looked at all that. There's enough room back there.
Mhm.
So do we have to do findings of facts or anything? Or?
Yes, if the board doesn't have any questions, I'll see if any of the audience has any questions regarding this petition. Did anyone have did any of the members of the audience wish to present any evidence? And then lastly, would anyone like to give a closing statement regarding this petition? Petitioners included.
I didn't grow up in the country, so I was excited. I'm excited to hopefully have the horses there. Horses and chickens. Experience. That's my.
And with that, you can proceed with the map amendment due process standards. It's that one right there. Yep.
So we're gonna vote on each one of them?
Essentially, you make findings on this, just like findings of facts. So yes.
And then vote on each one. So we're gonna come up with anything you want to add to this. The first one is A, the existing uses of nearby property. Well, that's pretty obvious. Everything's ag all the way around it. So it's not like it's, the R2 is actually more spot zoning than the ag 1 would be.
Correct.
So we need to vote on that.
Okay. Was that as?
I'll make a motion that, well, I don't know. I'll make a motion that existing uses of the nearby property are all ag 1. So it is not spot zoning.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Sorry.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
So B, the question is the extent property values will be diminished by any zoning restrictions.
I don't see any diminished property value since it's be similar to the neighboring properties as far as the uses.
Make a motion.
I'll move that, yeah. There probably won't be any diminished property values since they're similar
Okay.
uses.
We have a motion that the property values will not be diminished by any zoning restrictions. We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any comments on this? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Number C, the extent to which the destruction of property values promotes the public health, safety, and welfare. Now you explain that to me. The extent to which the destruction of property values promotes the public health. There is no destruction of property values.
Right.
We've come to that conclusion. I make a motion that there will be no destruction of property values.
We have a second. Tim seconds it. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
D, the gain to the public versus the hardship to the individual property owner. So,
People get to drive by and see a horse every once in a while.
You make a motion then.
I can't.
Yeah.
Grandkids next door.
There we go.
So,
So just to comment on this, this one in particular, sometimes we make zoning decisions where we have to weigh, sometimes there are benefits to the public that outweigh the hardship to the property owner. In this case, I don't really think there is any benefit to the public. It's going to be a personal use.
So I make a motion that there is no gain to the public on this petition.
I'll second it.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
E, the suitability of the subject property for zone purposes. And there's enough room for a shed and a horse pasture.
It's in a rural area.
So how are you making the motion?
I didn't know it was.
Hmm?
I make,
How are you making the motion?
I move that this subject property for zone purposes is large enough for its intended use, and it's also located in a rural area in the neighborhood.
Okay. Do we have a second to that motion?
second.
Mike seconds. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
F, the length of time the property has been vacant as zone, considered in the context of land development in the vicinity of the subject property.
I don't think that applies
I'm
to
gonna say, I
this.
make a motion that this is irrelevant to this petition.
You're making a motion that it's irrelevant.
To
Okay,
this petition.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Jim seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
G, the compatibility of the present and proposed classification with the comprehensive plan.
Fits right in.
Yes, it does. Make a motion that the new or the proposed zoning is compatible with the comprehensive plan.
We have a second.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
H, whether there is a public need in the neighborhood for the proposed use.
I don't know that this is technically a public issue. It's kind of a private neighborhood. Bill,
Not really a public need, but just a private,
Mhm.
yeah. You could state something or.
Just say that, Craig, there's no public or private.
Yeah,
so how did he say that?
I make a motion that there is no public need in the neighborhood, but there is a private need in the neighborhood. There is a private need for this petition. There you go.
Okay, we have a second.
second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Right.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion that we recommend this petition to the full county board for approval.
We have a second on that.
I'll second it.
Tim seconds that one. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. This will go to the full county board on what fine date?
Looks like the 17th?
17th of October?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a day meeting or an evening meeting?
It'd be an evening meeting.
Okay. All right. So your petition has passed this board and we'll go to the full county board on the 17th. Okay. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. The second petition this evening is petition number 24-P-1630 by Alicia Hall, Brandon Miller, Rianne Miller, Heather Settles, and William Shannonberg as owners of certain real property known as PIN number 07-02-33-252-011, commonly known as 1127 East River Road, Dixon, Illinois, located along East River Road, approximately 925 feet northeast of Stony Point Road and 667 feet southwest of Shop Road in Dixon Township, Lee County, Illinois, filed a petition for a special use for the Lee County Zoning Office for the purpose of a private campground. The parcel is currently zoned Ag 1 Rural Agricultural District and is approximately 1.75 acres in size.
Okay, a little history on this for you before we get going. This use has been in use for decades. We recently found out that the map showed that it had a special use. We found that that was an error. So at this point, we're looking to bring them in compliance. These existing campsites, like I said, have been there forever. They're privately owned by these individuals that are the petitioner. It is a private, we're going to call it campground because it's not open to the public, but because of the multiple campsites on one parcel, it fits into campground in our code. We are currently working with the Illinois Department of Public Health as far as their requirements for a campground. Unfortunately, they were not able to get us a letter by tonight, so we do not know what their recommendations are at this time. However, you can hear from the petitioners, and then if you want to make a decision tonight, you would be able to do so. You could also continue it to a later date to wait on IDPH's response to this petition.
Could we approve it subject to the health agencies?
That gets dangerous because we don't know what IDPH is going to ask of them. It's been a little bit of a complicated process dealing with IDPH. It's really been difficult. So I would be very nervous to do that tonight. If you want to see what IDPH has to say, I would maybe hear the content of the petition and then continue the findings until next month or until we receive that letter from IDPH.
Okay.
I did provide you guys with a list of exhibits.
Yes, you did.
First one is a copy of the petition for special use. Second exhibit is a notice of the public hearing that was posted at the property. Exhibit number 3 is a copy of the notice of public hearing that was mailed. The difference between the two is the legal description was so lengthy that we were not able to post it at the property. We did an abbreviated version of the legal at the property. The entire legal description did go out to adjoining neighbors. The 4th one is a copy of the certified mailing receipts and green cards that was submitted or sent out by my office. Exhibit number 5 is a copy of the certificate of publication in the Dixon Telegraph. Exhibit 6 is a copy of the letter to township authorities. Exhibit 7 is a copy of letters to municipal authorities, being City of Dixon. Exhibit 8 was a copy of letters to District 3 county board members, and Exhibit 9 is a copy of letter to county authorities.
Okay. Who's going to speak for the group? Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth? Sign your name, print your name.
Do have a picture of the property pulled up on the map. It is this area that is not shaded yellow. It is currently zoned ag and therefore does not have a color overlay. So it is this area back here and then goes up to the roadway.
So it's the whole L,
Yes.
L
Yep.
shape. Oh, if you turn it this way, L shaped piece of
Yes.
property. Okay. State your name.
William Shannonberg.
Okay. Tell us what's going on.
Ever since we bought the property, we've been fighting through this whole health department thing. Has been holding us up for over 2 years now. So we don't really know what to do until we hear something back from them. I mean, we've been there for 4 years. We've owned it for 4 years, been there for over 14 years. And they can never seem to get anything back to us on anything. I mean, when we purchased the property, like she said, in all of our legal agreements, when we bought the property and with our attorneys and everything, when we bought it, we told them that if the zoning wasn't right, wasn't correct, we were supposed to get all of our money refunded back. If at some point, you know, if it didn't meet what it needed to be, we didn't want it. And when we purchased it, all of our legal documentation came back legit, that it was special use ag 1 and everything was good to go. The next year is when we started getting letters that we were not zoned properly. And then we started talking with them too, and have been trying to work this whole thing out, and it's just in a brick wall.
Who previously owned the property?
Don Wilkie.
So when you say you bought the whole thing?
Yeah.
Or you bought just one
The
of
whole
the,
thing.
so then you rent the other ones out or?
No, there's 6 of us that went together and bought it.
Oh,
So we have-
I see,
Everybody has their own spot.
I see.
You say you're waiting on the health department for the last
Yeah,
couple of years?
Yeah, they come down, they tell us they don't have anything to do with it. Then we come and talk to them and they contact them and they say, well, we've got to look at something. He's already come down. He met all of us down there, went over it. Didn't see anything in violation of anything, but he's like, you know, you got to send us, excuse me, pictures of your electric box, your service, your water box, stuff like that. And he would send it down south to Adam or down to Springfield, and that they would reply back to him, and we never. That's as far as it goes.
So the local county people don't have any problems.
No,
So why do you call it a campground?
we don't call it a campground. That's what Lee County is calling.
So how do you use it? Do you use it like a campground or you're
We
not
use it as
permanently
a-
living there, right?
No, nobody permanently lives there. We just go down there on the weekends and stay and stuff like that. We have our boats docked down there and stuff like that. Go out on our boats and all that fun stuff. Have a campfire.
What did the previous owner use it as? The same as.
His
this one?
summer home or his summer spot or whatever. He lived in Arizona. He came up here and stayed during the summer, then would go back in the winter time.
And he built all them buildings that we see, or?
No, they, on this L shape or straight piece, that's a big, that used to be air gas, this building. And then behind it's a 1-car garage that was, those buildings were already there. And then towards the river on this side is where his house is that he built. And then the rest of them aren't buildings, they're just campers that are there. Of the own.
Movable.
Yeah. Yeah, because we already went through with them showing that anything that had to be pulled out that would potentially be in flood stage, we have the equipment there, we have excavators, we have skid loaders, tractors there, that at any point in time, anything can be moved up front to the front lot. Well, you can see there's some sitting there now, with trailers and boats and stuff sitting up front right there.
Pretty much everything on the one side of the railroad tracks can flood.
Right, it's all pretty much level, but up there, I think well, they said, I think all of it's considered floodplain, but we don't know by how much.
Show you in a minute.
The blue on the map does indicate where the floodplain overlay is. And as you can see, it covers almost the majority of the property. Laura, would you like to comment on their floodplain requirements?
So I've been down there to look it over, and they are in compliance with the campground with having campers down on the river. The big thing is that they have to be movable. They're tired. They have to have their the tongue on them. They have to have tires. They have to be registered. They have to be able to be pulled out immediately. Quick disconnect utilities. They cannot be attached to their decks. Things like that. So I have been down there, and they are in compliance with the floodplain regulations for their campground area.
What's the sewer situation? Is that with the campers?
With the
under
campers,
house?
we have, what's the name of it? Party Time Portables comes once a week, pumps any campers out that need it. We also have 4 porta potties on site. They get cleaned once to twice a week, depending on how much we've all been down there or whatever. If we need an extra time, we just call them and they go down, but they pump out the campers, they pump out the outhouses and clean the outhouses.
Is there a septic system for the house itself? then?
Yes, it's up front.
And that passed county health?
I
When
don't
you
know.
bought it, it should have been inspected.
Yeah, I mean, it did at that point.
So are you using it differently than the previous owner?
No, we're not there as much as he is or was.
But there's more of you now, correct?
Right, but there's weekends that we're all 6 of us might be down there, but there's weekends that I'm there and nobody else is there. Yeah, we rented a spot there from him when he owned it.
He said that they had been there 14 years
Yeah, altogether.
altogether.
We've owned it for the last 4 years, 4 or 5.
And again, there is no issue from my office perspective on this. It is just a matter of compliance. We have not received any complaints regarding the area. We're just trying to bring them into compliance so they.
Compliance, you're trying to bring it into compliance.
Correct.
But
So,
if it's never been a campground, how could you be bringing it into compliance? Explain that a little bit.
well, that's the thing. We're just now learning that it wasn't properly designated. The map used to show that there was a special use on the property. So we looked into that and found that it was an error. So it was assumed that this had a special use for a campground. It does not. So from a zoning perspective, now I have a parcel that is zoned ag that has multiple campsites. So when I look at my code, it's telling me that that meets our definition of a campground, which requires a special use in the ag zone. So that's how we ended up here. And again, because of the campground classification, we've been trying to work with IDPH to make sure everything is compliant on this from the state level and from the county level. Basically, because they've kind of been getting the runaround for a couple of years. IDPH is saying they need to be involved, they don't need to be involved, they need to be involved. So my office is really pushing on IDPH to issue something on this property. And if they need to be involved, then let us know what you're recommending. If they don't, give us a letter that says you don't need to be involved. So that's where we're at. IDPH has gone out to the property and visited it. We're simply just waiting for it to see what they're going to recommend.
Do they have more jurisdiction than we do? And if they come back with something, we say, well, we don't think they have to comply with that, who wins?
I would have to ask Stephanie or Charlie. That would be a legal question.
I think you better find that out. I mean, what if they say something that these guys don't want and we don't think is necessary? I mean, is their ruling the ultimate? You know?
Okay, I can look into that.
Cause that's, I mean, originally we didn't want to be zoned as a campground, but they said that was the only zoning that we could legally fall under.
This office said that.
Yeah.
So what's next to you there? What's the big?
Which one?
That's
That one
Rainer's
right there,
empty
that-
lot.
That's
That's
what?
Rainer's big empty grass lot.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry, over here.
is that it? Is that zone? I can't read what it's zoned.
R2, single family residential.
And then the piece that's not there, right there, what's that? That's the different color.
That I clicked on, or?
Yeah, right there.
That is
Well, that's
a
Coney.
city, it's actually under city jurisdiction. So I don't know the zoning of this parcel. But this parcel back here does have the same owner and it falls under county jurisdiction.
And it's R2.
Yes.
Then to the left, that's R2.
This is also R2. It is a similar situation that we are also working with the owners regarding compliance.
There's campers on that one.
Correct.
So what makes you think you'll get an answer within a month? If you put this off another month. They say it's been 2 years already.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. Laura has been very diligent about keeping on the person that we're dealing with at IDPH is contacting them regularly, letting them know that we're not going away until we get this resolved. So
So it's not affecting what you're doing now, right?
No, it's just, it's like they're holding this over our head and it's like, we just want to get it done. We already thought when we legally bought it in our paperwork, you know, it stated that it had everything it needed. And then after the fact, we find out that it didn't.
Do you know what the conditions are of a campground? I mean, is there anything that's negative to you or?
Well, I know he originally stated that we needed to put in a dump station for the campers and stuff. But then he even said when he was there, he's like, well, that'd be kind of pointless because none of these come in and out. They just stay there. So that's why we have party time portables come pump everything, because who wants to hook on to their trailer and pull it up front and dump it in the septic every time it's full. And he even said that, you know, he didn't even see a reason for that. But I mean, we're private, we're not open to the public. You know, we don't let the public in there. And that's why I didn't understand why the health department had to be part of it. And that's originally when they told us, when he was called down there before a couple of years ago to inspect it, he's like, you guys aren't open to the public. He's like, we have no jurisdiction here. We have nothing to do with anything here. And then now it's back again.
But I guess what I was getting at is if we change your classification to a campground, does that allow you to do more things that maybe the neighbors don't want you to do? Or is there stuff that we need to, or that you need to say to us so that it becomes a condition that, like you just said, you don't want people coming in?
Right.
But if you sell to somebody as a campground, can they put tents up there? You know, I don't know. Can they put 100 people in there on a weekend?
I don't know.
Well, is that,
So yes, that is something that you would have to consider going forward. If that is a concern, you can make conditions.
well, I'm saying maybe they need to make a list of what they would want as campground zoning. And then we can make conditions to that effect.
I mean, isn't there anything in your zoning for the campground of what it states that it would allow and wouldn't allow?
So conditions are drafted on a petition by petition basis. It depends on what the needs of the petition are. So we would look at your parcel and, what are some things that would, protect you guys, protect the county, protect your neighbors. So what he's saying is, what happens if somebody sells? So if one of the 6 sells and somebody else moves in, are they going to comply with the conditions that have been set forth today? Or are they
Yeah,
going to
they'd
be
have
able
to.
to do? And so that's what we're looking for. What do you want to see continue on at that campground? So if somebody else moved in,
Just continue the way it's been. I mean,
so private owners, not
Right.
open to the public.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see.
We can limit-
You come up with that and say, this is what we want this campground special use to be. And then we can,
But you've been there long
Call
enough, you
that.
know what's going on.
right, I mean, it would be nice to have the ability to set up tents. The kids like to set up tents and camp, the grandkids and the kids.
no,
I don't
I'm
know.
more what you don't want, and what your neighbors, if I was a neighbor next to you and it got campground zoning, I'd be worried that who knows what could happen 10 years from now on that piece of property.
Well, our neighbors are the same thing as what we are, or have the same thing as what we have. So I mean,
Yeah, but-
and they're actually going through the same thing that we are.
My office can sit down with them and we can work through.
Well, yeah, I just think, I think a little,
Restrictions.
yeah, some kind of parameters ought to be involved here. I don't know what, and we don't know. That's what I'm saying. You guys figure it out, and then we can either say, well, that we agree or we don't agree. But for us to say, well, this is what we want you to do, I don't want to do that. I don't know enough to do that. Yeah, you guys do that. Yeah.
Okay. My office can work with them through that. Is there any other questions from the board?
How long ago do you think that special use was granted? See a date on the original special use?
That's the thing. It was an error. We can't find a petition. So that's the problem is that.
Like 20 years ago or what?
and
Well,
that's- I
4
have-
years ago when we bought it, it came up.
I'll make a point. I don't ever remember it.
What's that building you said? What supply?
It used to be air gas.
Used to be air gas. What was the zone when air gas was?
I would have to go back and
No, it wasn't ag.
I would imagine it would probably have been, that's a great question. Originally, when zoning came out, this was all industrially zoned, and over the years it's changed. So I would have to look to see when that changed.
So we've heard the testimony, we know what it is.
Well,
I know, but I'm
Okay.
just saying, so you still have to get something from the Illinois Department of Health. And they need to put together something with you, what they would like to have for their own rules. Any other comments back here? Come up and be sworn in. Raise your right hand. You solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give should be the truth?
I do.
Okay. Sign your name, print your name, and then state your name.
Excuse me. My name is Steve Butler, and my wife and I live slightly upstream of this proposed property. And quite frankly, we have a number of the concerns that you, the board does. We've lived at our place for well over 30 years. And one thing I will say, with all respect to these folks, is there's a lot more campers there than what are illustrated in the current Google image. There are many campers down there that they're been put in since that. So obviously the sanitation concern was one of the concerns that we have. Granted, we're upstream, don't need to worry about that, right? But we're concerned about that. And there's far more than 6 families down there. Because, for instance, on Labor Day weekend, there was parking even on the opposite side of Route 2. There was a lot of people there. Now, obviously, the sanitation does come to the fore. I did not realize that they had porta potties back there that were being pumped so regularly, and I'm happy to hear that. One thing that we have noted, as the petitioner mentioned, is the adjacent property has campers on it as well. And if you went slightly upstream on the other side of the red square, which is, I believe, Dixon Builder Supply, and that next L-shaped property after that, several years ago, I want to say 2 years ago, they put in infrastructure. They put in electrical service for additional campers up there, another property owner. So what I'm getting at is if one campground is approved, there's no reason to deny the next campground several properties upstream. And I don't see my wife and I developing our property into a campground. So we just kind of, we're kind of concerned about that. What's going to come is everything from Rainers to White Oak Lane going to become campgrounds because there are additional structures upstream from us now that have been put up too. They were put up actually before people owned the property. That was abandoned railroad property. And they obtained that from Chicago Northwestern, and they're, whatever you call it, when they, when that takeover, yeah, it becomes part of its old Milwaukee Road and all those sellers. But we're concerned about the traffic. We've had, and I'm not saying that it's from these folks, but we've had, with the advent of the UTVs, we've had UTVs going through our front yard, and they've also come into our backyard. And just farther up is a liquor store, and I assume that that's the destination for many people that are traveling on their UTVs. Like I say, I'm not saying that it's these folks, but there's traffic in front and back. And these are the things that concern us. I do realize that many campers have been there for many years, but concerned about whether there will be more campers in subsequent. And I think you brought up the point, if that property would subsequently be sold, what's the next person going to do? Or if Rainers abandoned that property or sold that to a high bidder, now we've got that whole square. No. So those are our concerns.
So where's your place on that?
We are at 1307 East River Road, which is upstream, a little farther.
Right there. Yeah.
There you go.
And you live there full time. It's not a,
Yes, we live there full time. Been there almost 33 years.
Is the River Road legal for UTVs to drive on that road or? is the situation there?
I don't know that. It's a state highway. It's not, I know county highways they can run on. I'm not sure about the state.
That's actually the state.
It's Illinois Route 2, so. So I said, I understand that you're in a quandary. I mean, as these people are. We've got the state of Illinois on one side and petitioners on one side and county board kind of stuck in the middle. And I understand it's a very difficult problem to address.
Well, that's why we said this group needs to tell us what they're expecting to do. So that if we get it zoned, then it's got something on it so that the next buyer would have to live by whatever those rules were. So if they're talking about 6 people, 6 campers, 10 campers, whatever it is, then that's why we're asking them to tell us what they think their parameters should be.
So for the 33 years you've lived there, has that always been used as some type of camp place?
Yes, it has, but it's much more densely populated than it was initially.
More numbers today than previous.
Yes, far more. And I understand that the river's when the river's nice, it's a beautiful place to be.
It's an attraction.
It is an attraction.
Right.
You're on the river too.
Yes, sir.
Is there a dock at your place there?
It's in the yard right now, but yes, we have a dock. See, the blue at the top is part of the abandoned right of way, but we purchased ours from the railroad when that was made available. Not everybody did, but we did.
That went with you added it to
No,
your
yes,
property?
exactly. Yeah, it was an additional 70 feet, I believe, along the riverbank.
Okay. Any other comments?
No, I think the board has covered, I think, some of our concerns that we had. One of the things I would worry about too is simply the traffic along there, because they're coming and going via small gravel driveway there too, so.
Anybody else want to?
Anybody else want to make a comment? What's that?
We don't own any UTVs, none of us on the property.
Yeah.
The party was not us. It was around us. They have parties every year for both days. The big holidays, they have parties.
Mhm. Can I ask a question of the board or these folks? So are those the people that are downstream from in the opposite of the L? In other words, if the L went downstream, is that where, how many total campers are on their property then? Didn't you say that the neighbors were using it for a similar purpose?
So I'm going to stop you guys right there. We're kind of getting away from the process. Mr. Schanenberger was already under oath and you
Okay.
had an opportunity to ask him questions at that time. So
Sorry.
this is your opportunity to present evidence. If anyone has questions for you as a witness, they can ask you questions. And then we'll have an opportunity for everyone to give a closing comment after that's all taken place. So if we could continue on that.
Okay.
Can you turn on the mic and speak in? Sorry, you're good. And
watching our property? Oh, sorry. Have you been watching our property? Like, I'm not saying stalking.
No,
just-
I'm
No, no,
just-
no, no, no. I'm saying, have you noticed how our property value has, I bet, increased because we've taken care of our property? We actually cleaned it all up. When we were first there, however many years ago, it was infested with mosquitoes and rats and everything else. And we have, and broken down trailers and horse trailers and just junk. It was like a junkyard.
Yeah.
We actually take pride in our property. She's been there. It's beautiful. She wanted us to invite her over. I mean, we actually take pride in it.
I'm not suggesting you don't. What I'm suggesting is that there's a lot more trailers there than what the image would suggest. And I'm not saying that they're all yours.
They're-
Yeah, they're-
So
That's all-
one question that I would have then, how many properties or how many trailers are on the property that you own?
The ones you see on that are the ones that are on our property. So you might be mistaken ours with running into the next door neighbors with their campers. But the ones you see on there are the ones that are there.
And for the record, this photo is from 2022, so it is outdated and not accurate. Changes probably have been made to both properties that we're looking at right now. But we do need to focus on the property that the petition is regarding.
But what you see on that right now is what we have on our property.
So do you have a question for the witness?
Is it not true that when they do the aerial, trees were in the way? You can't even see the campers, some of them, because of the trees.
But now you can, yes. The trees are gone and they just were removed 2 months ago.
Yeah, I think this photo it's pretty clear. You can see the tree shadows across the river. Does anyone else have any questions for this witness?
People going down your driveway with side by sides and four-wheelers?
They've not gone down the driveway, they come across the driveway and then someone has come up right down the old river embankment.
People riding down the old railroad right away?
Yes, sir.
But when it gets down to your workplace, I believe it's all blocked off. Do you have it blocked off so nobody can go by down past Village Square?
No, sir. They could,
Some blocked off down there. Don't know who's black.
I think there might be a couple of railroad ties laying.
You could get past the building supply place.
Village Supply, that's as far as you can ride side by side. You gotta go
Well,
down their driveway,
Well, they might have
Can't
done,
go no further. Is that where your property starts right there?
no. No, we're, with Builder Supply, there's three more properties before ours.
I know you can't go past Village Supply.
No, somebody figured it out. And like I say, I don't know who they were, sir. I do not know.
Any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to present evidence? And if no, we'll go to closing statements.
Okay,
Would anyone like to give a closing statement?
Well, I think with the new knowledge that we need to acquire and the fact that we got to wait on the Illinois Department of Public Health for their recommendations, I make a motion that we continue this to the November 7th zoning meeting.
Second.
Do we need to add something in there from the Illinois Department of Health? Do we also need to put in there if the petitioner would like to put some recommendations as to limitations of what they would like?
It's your motion. You can make,
I don't make motions, I'm just speaking.
Well,
if someone wants to amend the motion, we can do that.
I can't amend my own motion, so get somebody else to.
What's that?
I can't amend my own motion.
Okay.
I think it gets us to the next meeting. That's all we need anyhow.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so we're just going to go forward with the motion to continue till the November 7th meeting, waiting for the Illinois Department of Public Health. What's that?
Is there any way that we can put anything in there that if by our next meeting, that if we still don't have anything back from the health department, we can proceed without them?
I could talk to the state's attorney's office about our options. That's a legal question. I would have to run by them. So we can look into what may happen if
Yeah, 'cause I
that
mean,
happens.
It's already been years. I mean, are we just gonna keep going month to month to month?
So they still have to make findings of fact, and that's what I don't want to happen. So that's what, well, I'll talk to the state's attorney to see what they would advise in that situation.
Okay.
And we don't blindly want to say,
Oh, I understand.
we'll accept the Department of Public Health's recommendation, because it may be a detriment to you. We want
Right.
to have a little say in it when it's all said and done, if we can, and I don't know if we can. That's.
But the state's attorney may be able to tell us that too.
State's attorney.
Okay. So we have a motion and we have a second. Is there any other comments? Hearing none. All in favor of the motion to continue to the November 7th meeting, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? So it will go to the next meeting, as we are now. The next thing we need to do is have a motion to recess until the next meeting.
I move to recess until the next meeting, November 6th at 6 p.m.
I make that correction. It's November 7th at 6 p.m. And actually, before you vote on that motion, a little housekeeping issue. We're getting to that time of year where I need to set the schedule for what our meeting times will be for next year. Kind of found out that I did it wrong this year. So need your input, guys. Are we going to go to 6 p.m. meetings? If we are, what months? If not, it doesn't apply.
The original agreement, gentleman's agreement was when time changes. Time change,
So November and March.
whenever the time changes.
Okay,
That was my understanding, right? That's what we thought.
okay.
So November probably would be 6 o'clock, right?
I think it's the first weekend in November, the time does change. But I think we went through April last year
Yeah, you went too long.
and you were not pleased about that. So, okay, I will look into when the time changes and we will stick to that. You can go ahead and vote. Sorry.
Okay, so we have a motion to recess. We've listened to the comments. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.